So this week's episode, we welcome Nicole. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi.
So Nicole comes highly recommended and a nice referral, which we love. But maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself and anything aviation related or whatever it is your expertise is. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Nicole. I'm the owner of the company MEDIFLIGHT. I'm working as a paramedic for many, many years. And in 2007, I started as a trainer for first aid trainings for pilots, flight attendants, and everybody around in the aviation business. And yeah, that's my passion now. So I do everything, every courses around this aviation business. We now have also courses for mental fitness.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we can do peers. So we can do courses for peers. That's a very important topic in the aviation at the moment. And yeah, that's what we are doing. And that's what I'm doing long years now.
Yeah, that's just brilliant. So why do you run it now?
So it started in 1967. And I'm now the third generation. And it's a little bit a passion to train medical things, because I have seen in all these practical paramedic situations that it is necessary that people have to know how to handle such a situation, because not every time we have somebody around who's professional.
Yes.
And especially in the aircraft, we need people who know what to do, because an aircraft is not landed in 8 minutes. So that's the reason why it is for me so important to do these trainings and do trainings with a high quality, that all the flight attendants and also the pilots are feeling safe to help in such a situation.
Okay, well, that's great. I mean, and that's going to be very reassuring for people because medical situations are an area of fear for nervous flyers. So tell us what sort of stuff that you would train, crew and pilots in.
So every year we train a lot of flight attendants, especially because that's are them by the airlines who has the first contract to the passengers. And they are trained in all medical situations, especially the situations with fear of flying and also panic attacks, because we know in the last years we had a lot of passenger, and from the statistic it is getting more and more that people have not really fear to fly, but they are not feeling very comfortable in an aircraft. And so that is one big topic of us, that the flight attendants know to handle such a situation. For the pilots, it's in the most times not really important, because they close the door and they get the information via phone from the cabin. And by cargo pilots, okay, they have their package in the compartment, so they often not have a fear to fly. But executive airlines, especially who don't have flight attendants, then the pilots, it's also important to know all the things.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, there's so many things I want to ask you, Nicole. So, no, that's really good. So let me just think of the most logical. So, okay, so maybe I could ask you what sort of things you train people, crew. How do you help the crew to help somebody who's having a panic attack, or is just anxious? What sort of stuff might you cover?
So the first thing what we are trying to do is to explain how this mental disease can happen. So what happens in the brain of the passenger in this situation? It's not every time very easy to explain this, because everybody has its own thoughts about the flying. We have seen passengers who thinking about so different things. So, for example, I had a passenger, a young boy, who have no problems with flying all over years, and round about 3 months ago, his dad was dying, and his first flight after this situation was from Germany to Malta. And during this flight, he was thinking about that he is so high in the sky, so near to his dad. And he makes all this thinking about his dad and how he died and so on. And in this case, he caused a panic attack. So, and this is difficult to break this way how they are thinking. And for a flight attendant, it is important that they are first understand how it can happen, and then they have the right tools to bring them down, calm them down, and so on. So fear of flying, just the real fear of flying, it's quite easy for us because we can explain noises, we can explain different processes in the aircraft. So sometimes we have people when they get their hyperventilation, for example, in case of such a fear, we calm them down and sit near them and then explain, okay, now my colleague comes with the service, and after the service it happens this, and then it this, and when happens this, we are still in the landing. So so that the passenger have some points, so that he can use, that he know, okay, just only this, and this, and then we are on the ground.
Yeah.
And that is the way how it works for us.
So it sounds like the knowledge of what's coming up, and just how do you train people to, if because this is a big question. Just like, I'm having a panic attack on board an aircraft, and I'm and you notice, what can the crew actually do, or what are they trained to do to sort of help with the hyperventilating and all that stuff?
So at the first, they can help with the symptoms. So that is important at the first part. And then, they calm down. They try to bring him to other thoughts. So sometimes we use the passenger near the other passenger, that we say, okay, if there's a good connection, just try to talk with them so that they are not thinking about their problem. Yeah, and that is the main thing. And to look seriously and safe, to that the flight attendant every time has that the passenger know, okay, it is safe here in the aircraft, that they are don't doing anything that the passenger is thinking, so what they are doing, I don't feel safe here. That is very important.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think there is something about the presence of the cabin crew that you just have to stay calm, even though it can be quite disturbing to see somebody being anxious or having a bit of a panic attack. And one of the things I was taught years ago, I was just wondering whether this is still the same, is that we used to teach breathing into like a sick bag. Is still that one? Yeah,
still this one. So that's what I mean with the hyperventilation. For example, we started to stop the symptoms. So if they are hyperventilating, they get their sickness bag, they have to breathe in the sickness bag. We try to explain why they have to breathe in the sickness bag, because the problem is now there came somebody I don't know and put a bag on my face. So what they are doing now, and the person with the problem just not really understand why this happened with them. They thinking, I don't get enough oxygen, I will die because I don't get enough oxygen. And we know as experts, as professionals, that the main problem is they have too much oxygen, but we have to explain it to the passenger. And that is a very important part, because sometimes they get nervous and it don't help with the sickness bag.
Yeah. I always used to find it a bit weird because sometimes they'd look at you and say, just put this sickness bag on your face. They'd be like, what? But anyway, or just talking to people can often help calm them down anyway. But that sickness, so that technique still stands then. That's useful to know.
Yeah, but if they have too much fear for the sickness bag, we also can use the hands, for example. So
Yeah.
like this, it's also working.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
sometimes a little bit easier for the passenger because he can take his hands by his own away. So
No, that's good. But that's good as well because if somebody's listening to this and thinks, what can I do? That little if they start to overbreathe, they can just sort of cup their hands around their face, and yeah, that's great. So nice. Who do you say that? Who do you train? Who's it that subscribes to your services?
we train directly by the airlines. So we have contracts with the different airlines, and I'm together with my 6 colleagues. So I have additional 6 other trainers. A lot of years ago, we have more than 20 trainers, but the aviation business is still changing, and the airlines go and come, and so now we are still, I and my 6 colleagues, and we are working around Europe. We have one customer in Canada, so we go directly to them. So it's not an online training; it's a training directly there because it's more important to have the practical training. So the theoretical things I can read in a book, for example.
Yeah.
Sometimes I need somebody who explain me things I don't understand, but really I can read it in the book. But the important things are the practical training. So how it works in the practical part. And that's what we are doing.
And in your experience, is it any different for like big airlines versus small airlines, like low cost versus full service?
Yeah, in the aviation business we have every time, but that's for all the training, not only first aid training, it's all the training. For training, it's in the most times not enough money. So the big airlines who understand what is the problem, because we have from the statistic on every second flight a medical. If it is a collapse,
So every second flight a medical.
Yeah, because it's not every time a big one. So we are not talking on CPR, for example. We are talking about a collapse.
Yeah.
So that's the typical one, what we have. And the bigger airlines, they know about this, and they have a look on their training, and they try to do a high quality training. We have also customers from the executive part who are interested in the high quality training because they have passengers who paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
But there are also small airlines who are looking very straight on the costs, and so we do the same training every time because the EASA has a regulation. These topics we have to train, and so that's what we are doing.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I think even the listeners will get it, that I always say this, that airlines operate with such a tiny margin that they'll have to be very, very careful about costs. And so, but when you've got rules in place, like regulations, you still have to do it, even if you can afford it. Yeah, exactly. It's good for you. Yeah.
Yeah. So EASA says these topics we have to do, and that's what we need on time. That's a part. We have customers who try to make the time very close. Then it is a little bit difficult to do all the topics, but it works already. And if it's not work, we talk to them and tell them it is not possible for us.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. And they can go elsewhere. They've still got to meet the regulations, haven't they? That's right.
Yeah.
So would you mind because people will find this very reassuring. Could you just give us some examples of the breadth of training that you take cabin crew and pilots through? So on a typical airline, what's all the different things that a cabin crew person, for example, could deal with?
So you mean which kind of disease they are can handle, or which type of trainings we have?
Both.
So the type of training is quite easy. A cabin crew, for example, has to do an initial training. It takes between 2 and 3 days.
Yeah.
So they get all the basic medical stuff they have to know, and they have 1 practical day. So that's between 2 and 3 days.
So when you say basic medical stuff, what sort of stuff would you include?
We are talking about a lot of basics.
Yeah.
So we started with the medical things, what they need for their job. So like hygiene and how I can work with injections on board and medications, which type of first aid kits, for example, is in an aircraft. So which equipment do we have, like oxygen, the defibrillator, the different kits they have. It depends on the airline, so the kits are changing. And we are talking about the circadian rhythm, so how they are feeling when they travel around the world, what is sleep, for example, so that they understand their own body, what is happening during a flight. We are talking about the aircraft by themselves, especially the different pressures, because that makes a lot of problems during a flight. And the flight attendant has sometimes to inform the passenger about the pressure problems in the cabin, so that the passenger understand what happens by himself, especially by pressure problems in the ears.
Yeah.
Sometimes the passenger need information how or why this happens, that my ear is aching, for example. Yeah, also the collapse. We have short example. If you have a passenger who's entering the aircraft with a very pale skin and not feeling very good, I can have a look on my watch after 45, 50 minutes after the start. We have the first problem with this passenger because the blood pressure is going down during the start, and the most of the passengers don't know. So if you don't eat something before the flight and don't drink something, and you have a stressful night because it was a long journey to the airport and you are excited for your holidays, it can happen that your blood pressure is so low when you're entering the aircraft, and during the start it goes lower and lower, and then we have the first collapse.
Right, Nicole, that is a fantastic point. So I haven't forgotten that we're going to talk about the range of things that you do, but this, just to reiterate here, so there's a lot of nervous flyers kind of don't get much sleep before. You can understand that. So we always say try and stay at the airport, like a hotel. It costs more, but it means you've got less stress. We always say eat and drink, do your normal things, even if you don't feel like you want to, because exactly what you've just said. So that's a really good reminder. Thank you for that. That's good. Look, because you said basics. I mean, there's loads of stuff. What else do you cover?
How they cover this, or?
Well, because you just said, oh, we do the few 2 to 3 days, we do some basics, and you just rattled off loads of things already. And I think, there's more
than this. Yeah, there's still more. We are talking about the birds on board. So we have also special dummies for this. So they are trained how to work the birds on board. We are talking about different disease, like the stroke, the heart attack, mental disease, like the hyperventilation. We are talking about a special aircraft disease, like hypoxia, for example, how it can happen and how we can work with this. They have to be trained in accidents and injuries. So what happens if there are turbulences and the passenger is break the leg or the arm? So how can I work with fractures? They have to know everything about the different infection disease all over the world, and that's a lot.
Wow.
And they have to know about the CPR. So how the CPR works, how we can do this in the aircraft, because we have no space for this normally. Yeah. And at the end, they have to do 2 tests, 1 theoretical test and 1 practical test. And that's all. And that's all in 3 days.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And if it's anything like I remember my practical tests, you literally walk into a scene and you don't know, they just start, don't they? And then you've just got to work it out and deal with it. and it's quite tough. You
Yep.
feel quite under pressure, don't you? It's quite
Yeah.
tough thing.
And the special thing in the aircraft is we have no space. So it's not like by a car accident, I bring somebody out of the car, lay him on the ground, and there's not a lot of space. We have very small aisles. We have very small space between the seats. And yeah, the only area we love to use, but in 90% of the cases we cannot use is the galley. But it is quite difficult to bring a passenger out from the seat in the galley because they are sometimes very, very heavy when they are unconscious. They are very big sometimes. Yeah, it's very difficult for us. So and it depends on the aircraft. So if you have an Airbus 330, then you have more space than in a small Falcon, for example, by an executive.
So here's the top tip then, anyone listening. If you want to be unwell, do it in a big aeroplane. There you go. So if you plan your little bit.
Really great. And choose the first seat or the back seat. Okay, last seat. So you're quite near to the galley.
Yeah.
But it is not good for the people with a fear of fly. So people with fear of fly should choose a seat in the middle of the aircraft because they're more stabilized. They don't feel all this movements of the aircraft.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, people often say that. I always encourage them to do that to begin with, and then move around the aircraft because that's what everybody else has to do. And but yeah, I think the sort of the reassuring messages are that, you know, ideally that you're going to sit in one of those nice easy seats on the big aeroplane. But even if they don't, you're training the crew, all these different airlines, to deal with the situation and a massive range of diseases and illnesses. Wow, that's a lot. That's good. So tell us a little bit about the different, you said you have a range of things that you offer or a range of different trainings that you do. Perhaps you could tell us a bit more about that.
So yeah, what we are offering or what the cabin crew is needed. So first we talked about the initial training when they started as a cabin crew. And then the cabin needs every year one training. So that's the recurrent. They get every year one training. That's what we also offer. And yeah, then they are quite trained. If flight attendants came back from a long on the sea or from a long, they are long on long distance out of their business, they have to do OCC training. And
What's that? Sorry, OCC.
OCC, it's called Operator Conversion Course. And it's it's initial in a very short time.
Yes.
So just to remind them everything what they have to know. Yeah, a pilot have to do a training once. It depends. So if he started in one airline and he will stay for the next 30 years in this airline, he only have to do first aid once in a time. So when he entered the airline, they have to do first aid every time when they change airlines. So when they change their employers. And if you have airlines who want to pay for this, we have airlines, they do also for the pilots every year, especially executive airlines who are not flying with flight attendants. The pilots have to do the training every 3 years. But in the most times they take the money and they do it every year because it's important for them. Yeah. There's nobody in the cabin who can help.
Oh, exactly.
But it is
just, that's really interesting because I think we have had some people who are able to go on executive flights, and I hadn't thought about the medical side of it because I always assumed there'd be at least one crew person in the cabin, but I guess on a really small one there might not be anybody, and so the pilots have to be trained. Oh, that's really interesting. Didn't know that.
But it is difficult because somebody also have to fly the aircraft.
Yeah, we'd like the aircraft being flown. Yeah, that's always quite important. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So I felt like I interrupted you mid then. So you were talking about lots of different types of training, but you also finished on the executive side, pilots coming through normally once a year as well. Anything else you do?
Yeah, we do also trainings for peers, for example. So in the last years after the accident of the German wings, it became more important and important. So we started to create a special course for peers and also for people who working in the CISM part. So CISM is critical incident departments in the different airlines. And so we are trained them how they can handle such special situations and what they can do. We also offer our experience. So I'm working for a lot of airlines, so in the coaching business. So I help them with their equipment, and we are working together with the pharmacy so that they every time have the right EASA equipment on board, and so that they are safe. And there are some, is there somebody who check this from the authority, for example? Sometimes they check all the things. And and I also write the medical statistic, which types of medicals they have during the year, how many medicals they have. And on this statistic, we try to find a way to put it in the courses and train them on the special things. So, especially in the, just an example, and especially in the last 2 years, we see more and more passengers with a COPD, with a chronic obstructive lung disease on board. That is possible, but not in every stage of the disease. And the passengers don't know something about the pressure problem in the aircraft, and that there's a problem to get the right amount of oxygen. And our flight attendants have to know about this. What is special with this kind of passengers? How can we give them oxygen, and so on? Because there are some tricks to know about this disease. Long years ago, we have a special part about Ebola, 2005, for example. When Ebola started. So,
The thing with these, so just for people who be listening now, be worried about the oxygen thing, and everyone's going to think. So, I just want to kind of you to reassure people that that yes, you do have a lot of. I do remember lots of faints when I used to fly, and so you're always getting the oxygen out. But it wasn't like everybody. It's just like certain people just seem to feel like they needed a bit more oxygen. And would you agree with that?
So at first we have enough oxygen on board. So everybody who is healthy has no problem with this pressure things in the aircraft. So we get enough oxygen during a flight. Especially people with chronic disease can get problems. And here we can say it will be good that these passengers will inform before the flight, and if it is possible, take their own oxygen with them. So, because the problem is we have manual oxygen on board, but these oxygen are from the regulations, normally not for first aid case. We use it for this, but from the regulations, it is for the safety. If something happens, that there's a technical problem with the pressure in the aircraft, and for this are the manual oxygen in the aircraft. So for me, it's important that the passenger know about his problem, and then he will be good informed, and if it is necessary, he take his own oxygen. Because the reason is why I say it in this way. We had a lot of passengers who enter the aircraft. They know about their disease, and shortly after they start, they make bing, and then they explain to the flight attendant, now I need oxygen. Okay, why do you need this? Because I have this and this. Okay, but this oxygen we have is normally not for your situation, because at the moment you're feeling good. Yeah, but I get every time oxygen. Yes, I understand, but it is our safety oxygen. So we have several decisions on board. So don't understand me wrong. We use the oxygen for first aid also, but if it is a problem which is known before the flight, it would be better when the passenger is taking care about his oxygen by himself.
Yeah. And it could also become we call it a safety behavior in our world. So people they'll go, I'll be okay on the flight as long as I sit in a certain seat and wear these clothes. The crew bring the oxygen, the crew look up, so it's like, and it's recognizing that these are things that habits that are not particularly helpful. And actually it helps the cabin crew and the airlines if people let them know beforehand, like you said. So yeah, that's good. So could you mind telling me a little bit about the peers training? Because I think that's a really, that is a question that comes up quite often with people around sort of mental health and well-being and things like that.
Mm-hmm. So, the peers training was necessary after this big accident. So we also put in 2020, in February 2020, they put a new regulation for airlines that every airline have to have a special peer support process. So that means if something happens during a flight, accident or something in another way, there should be people in the company who can go to the place where it happened and take care of all the people who are involved, including also the family and so on. That's the reason why we have this peer thing, especially is that the peers also responsible for their own colleagues. So it is not only for aircraft accidents. The peer support process is also for people in the company who have, for example, problems with drugs and alcohol, or problems in the family, and cannot do their work in the right way. So it is to take care about somebody and save the problem before it happened something worse. So
yeah, no, that makes sense. So we've got a train going past. I don't know if you can hear that. So would you mind just perhaps telling a couple of success stories or things that your crew have done over the years that just because of the training? Anything that springs to mind?
Yeah, especially during CPR. So they are well trained in CPR, and we have a very high rate of positive CPRs. And why this is so special, because we need round about 20 minutes to the ground if it's a good way. It depends on where the next airport is. So, and we have a very high quote of positive CPR results, for example. Yeah, in Germany, the quote of first aid CPRs are not, they are good, but not so good. So that's the reason. And there, the paramedics will be latest in 8 or 10 minutes on the patient, and in the aircraft, they're at the first time, in the most times, first aiders. If it is a good flight, you have a doctor, but not on every flight we have a doctor on board. So yeah, and the most times the flight attendants will have to handle the situation. So, and that's the reason why we have a very good quote.
No, it's good. I think that's really helpful to know that, because people worry about this, it's just thinking about how well trained everybody is on board. And so what are the plans for MEDIFLIGHT then? Where are you going next? Is it global domination?
Yeah, what we are going next. We try to find new customers. It is in the aviation business at the moment a little bit difficult because we have not so many new airlines, but every year we try to find new customers to do new courses, and that is important for us to bring all the knowledge to the people. And yeah, we now started a second part as a health coach. So we have people who working together with different patients. I say they want to create a healthier life, for example.
All right.
Yeah. So
Health coach. Tell me about that. That's interesting.
yeah. The health coach will be contacted by a person who is interested in a healthier life. That can be because of disease, so together with a medical treatment, or it could be that you individually decided want to now have to have a healthier life. And then he will coach the person how they can do this. So we're talking about the foods, we are talking about how you can work against mental stress, for example. We are talking about how you can do sports, or what else you can do the whole day for your health, and find a way together with you. The special part is for the aviation. We looking for clients, especially in the aviation business after film events. There are a lot of pilots, especially, who have to work with cancer, because the skin cancer in the cockpit is a very high topic at the moment. And yeah, so that's the clients we are looking for, that we can help together with the medical treatment, such kind of people, to find a healthier way to live with disease, or find a way to have a healthier life.
That's really interesting. Well, there you go. I didn't know. Learned loads today, as always. So, Nicole, if people want to find out more about all the stuff that you do, because we have all sorts of people listen to the podcast, so it'd be lovely that you might make some more connections. How would they find you? What's the best way?
The best way is our homepage. It's www.mediflight.de. It's also in English, so you can translate it. That's the best way, or you can find us on LinkedIn.
All right, okay, brilliant. Oh, well, Nicole, thank you very much. That was really good, and I think there's some proper reassuring messages there, and I think it's just going to be really, really great that people get a chance to hear it from your perspective and all the work that you're doing. And a lot of people don't realize how well trained all the different airlines are, and so I think that's absolutely brilliant. Thank you. Fruitnik.
You're more than welcome. Many thanks.
Thank you.